Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph and we are on episode 8 of Read It Down. If you're new here and you don't know what Read It Down is, it is a video series that I created at the beginning of the year where I have friends pick 2 books from my TBR that I have to read in whatever month it is. So this month is August, but I have also allotted myself a mood read because I am a mood reader. So in total, I have to read 3 books within a month, and if I don't read it by the end of the month, then I am on a book buying ban for the following month or for however long that I don't complete each of the books that have been given to me. The only thing that doesn't count towards my book buying ban are gifts and pre-orders. So technically I'm on a book buying ban, but my birthday is in just a few days. So with all that out of the way, this month's guest is Bree from Lockbooktition. I really love Bree's content. She has such relaxing vlogs where she's making food and it is so inspiring. Like every time I watch her make a dish, I'm like, yes, I need to go cook myself something, but then I probably go order takeout. Anyway, I love Bree. Super funny, really great recommendations, always doing something in the community. There's always something to look forward to with Bree. She does readathons, she does read-alongs, she has book club discussions ranging from comic books to classics, and she's always doing really fun reading sprints. So I highly recommend checking out Bree's channel before you watch this video, watching a few of her vlogs. Highly recommend. The most fun part about this is Bree is also a wild card in terms of what she could potentially pick for me. And I say that because I have a lot of fantasy. Obviously, I read a lot of fantasy. It's what I gravitate towards. It's my comfort zone. And Bree doesn't read a ton of fantasy, like high adult fantasy. I would say, from watching her channel anyway, she reads a lot more of contemporary things, mangas, graphic novels, sci-fi, things like that. I'm actually not 100% sure what Bree would choose for me. One that came to mind was The Water Dancer because I think I remember it was on her favorite books, or she talked about it in a vlog or something like that. I remember her specifically talking about it. My next guest is really random, but I actually heard about this book first through Bree, and it's Why We Sleep, and she used to tweet about it. She did like a whole review about it. So I feel like that's potentially one that she would pick, although I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I put it in the picture for my bookshelf. So those are my 2 guesses, but let's watch the video and find out what Bree picked for me.
Hey Steph. So I'm excited to be one of your folks for you to try to get through that large TBR shelves that you got. No shade, no shade. The first one I recommend to you is The Romantic Agenda, because for me reading this book, I felt very seen, very connected to it. I did think that there was some of the execution of how long certain characters did something didn't like fit totally, like a little cupcake of sorts for me. However, I really love that story. It's a romantic story about a young Black woman. She identifies as asexual. Also, her best friend identifies as asexual. However, she's been pining over him and trying to plot to get him to see her so that they can have a romantic agenda. However, things get in the way. There's some self-reflection that happens. There's a bunch of things that's helping her to understand her sexuality, how other people view her, and if she really wants to be with her best friend Malcolm. So that is what the story is about. The next book that I recommend to you is a book that I read a couple years ago. I almost finished the series. It's called Akata Witch. So Akata Witch is set in a country in Africa, and I'm blanking on the name. And I want to say Nigeria, but I could be wrong. You know what I mean? And Akata Witch is this young girl. She is albino and she has magical powers, and it's up to her and her friends to try to save this area that they're in. And they go to this magical school. It's involving different like spiritual beings that we don't always get to talk about in literature. It's just a good book to read that is about a young Black girl stepping into her power, trying to help other people while also being very stubborn. And the magic system is much different than magic systems that we will typically read here in America. And like the Afrocentricness of it really pulled me into the story. I also truly liked Akatawitch mom, and I was very suspicious of all the older people or the adults at her school. So I'm excited to read. I think it's Akata Warrior is the last book, and I haven't read that yet. But I will say, loved this book. It kind of reminded me of like an African version, but a bit more fantastical, of Amari and the Night Brothers. So that's me giving you these recommendations.
I didn't guess either of them right, but I'm actually really excited about these. Let me go grab them. Okay, so we have the books here. So the first one is The Romantic Agenda. And if you know me, I don't really read a lot of romance, but I don't know, just because of the asexual representation, I was so drawn to this, and I just really crave reading books with good asexual representation. So it's been nice to hear all of the reviews about this where people really identify with it. I also know that Claire Kahn also writes YA, and all of the YAs involve asexual characters as well. So I'm looking forward to an adult version. I mean, I haven't read anything by this author before anyway, but I'm more inclined to read a romance if it's adult anyway. So I think these protagonists are supposed to be 30. Yeah, it says 30, flirty, and asexual. And then Akatawitch. I'm so excited about this because it has been on my shelf for so long, and I love Nadia Corfor, and I don't know why I just haven't gotten to this. So I'm really excited to get to this, and the way that Brie described it just made me even more excited because I love magical schools, and I still need to read Amari and the Night Brother. Per usual, I don't know which one I'm going to start first, but it'll probably be The Romantic Agenda because my reading has been kind of slumpy. So I'm gonna try something lighthearted, even though the Magical Readathon just started and I'm very distracted by the TBR that I made for myself. Hi, I have nothing significant to update about in terms of reading, but I got this sweater that has little ghosts on it, and I'm drinking out of my spooky mug. And today is my Friday, as you know. Maybe? I don't know. I do say it a lot in my videos. Thursdays are my Fridays, and then I have Friday, Saturday off. I am gonna decorate this weekend for fall, and that'll be just in time for Casey to be here because Casey is coming to visit me. We are picking her up on Saturday afternoon. That's gonna be really exciting. I'm so excited, except for the fact that I have to work while she's here, so that sucks. But yeah, that's my update. I haven't really been reading a lot.
What's it like inside your mind, my dear? And do you find it terrifying there? You always let me know, you always let me go my way. You always let me know, you never let it show my deed. My only friend to the end. What
Hello, so today is Erin's 24-hour readathon. It's like an impromptu 24-hour readathon that she's hosting. I'm gonna be on the first reading sprints, which I think are until midnight, but I have started the romantic agenda. I started this when I was cleaning today, and I'm not far. I'm 64 pages into it, so I'm on chapter 6. I don't really have many thoughts about it. I'm liking it so far. It's pretty funny, and I like our main character so far, but otherwise I don't have many thoughts on it. I just wanted to let you know that I started it. The thing is, I probably won't be reading this for the readathon. The mood read that I chose, which is so far different than anything that I'm reading for this vlog, is Gideon the Ninth. I've just been itching to pick this up, especially with the third book coming out and so many of my friends being so excited about it. I have given in to the hype. I do own the first 2 books, but what's funny is I work at a library, so I do have access to ARCs, and this was one of the ARCs way back in the day. So this came out in 2019, so this ARC probably was floating around early 2019, and I just remember seeing the cover and being like, this looks like something I would like. Hadn't heard anything about it. I've had it since then, and obviously slowly I've been hearing so much hype about it, so now I'm finally gonna read it. I haven't put a bookmark in because I've been listening to it, but I'm pretty sure I'm on chapter 7 right now, which is page 66, and it is confusing at times, but I love Gideon and I really like the writing style. I couldn't even give you a synopsis of this right now. I will try in another update, but this is the book that I am likely going to be reading for the entirety of Erin's 24-hour readathon, mainly because I know myself and I doubt that I'll be able to get through more than 1 book, but also I have to edit a video, so I think that's going to be the majority of what I'm going to be doing during the sprints, and then hopefully I'll have some time to officially read this.
Baby, I think I'm finally starting to get you. She told me through her teeth and her perfume, I never wanna see you again. But in the morning, she's pulling off her clothes in the bathroom. I'm standing in the hall, I'll be gone soon. Who did I think I was? And it's breaking up again. Telephone lines wrapped around my neck. I don't wanna think about anything you said. And now you're living in the south side, staring at the cars as they pass by. You're drinking up the smoke if you're too high. You're never gonna come back down.
Good morning. It's almost September. I'm so excited. I mean, it's gonna be hot here for a while, but I'm already embracing the spooky vibes. I've been in a very nostalgic mood for the past like month, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm just embracing it. Like, I mean, I'm listening to nostalgic movies. I'm rewatching YouTubers that are very nostalgic to me now, because a lot of them probably don't even make videos anymore, or I just don't watch their newer stuff. So I've been rewatching older content that I like watched when I was younger and loved them. I just put on my watch later Halloween Town Twitches. It's a vibe recently. I don't know what's going on with me, but I love this feeling of nostalgia. But one of the things that brings me like the most nostalgia and joy, and the reason that I love Halloween, which I don't think I've ever really talked about this before. I've just always been a lover of Halloween. It's just a part of who I am. But there's something about fall that makes me very nostalgic, and I think a lot about how autumn was also my mom's favorite time of year. It's also my aunt's favorite time of year, and so last year in October she came and visited me, and we had a really nice time because there's a few Halloween stores here that are here all year long, and we went to those, and it was just a really good time. But other than that, it's like, it's not even about reading horror, because I didn't really grow up reading horror books during the spooky season. I mainly read Goosebumps, but I didn't read them like seasonally. I think it's just because like some of my favorite shows really took place in the fall. Like fall was a huge part of the shows, and it just makes me feel really cozy. I also love really cheesy shit. Obviously, I love the decorations. They bring me so much joy, but there's just something about the fall where it's like, it's easy to get cozy. It's easy to feel comfortable and just alive. I feel alive. I also think if you're a student still, which I'm no longer a student, but I've been a student for the most of my life, probably more than half of my life, and September, it's like the beginning of a new school year. It's when you can kind of decide to start over, right? If you had a bad school year, maybe fall is when you're gonna just start over. I know a lot of people talk about spring being the time of starting over and like new growth, but I never really feel that way during spring. Like I'll get this itch to clean out things, but really I just finished doing the biggest clean out of my life. Not of my life. Moving usually is the biggest clean out of my life. But like since moving here to this town and like hours from my family, besides that move, this is the first time that I've gone through like all of my stuff and started donating things or selling things. Yesterday I went through a lot of clothes that I've been holding on to that don't fit me anymore. And because of the pandemic, a lot of my clothes don't fit me anymore. It's been really hard getting rid of clothes this time. I feel like clothes and books are the things that I have the hardest time getting rid of, which is funny because I don't really buy a lot of clothes, so that's probably why it's hard for me to get rid of them. I do buy a lot of books, I'm aware. Anyway, enough about me ranting on about fall. I'm just really excited that it's almost September, which is funny because I'm not actually a summer hater. Summer's a little bit hard for me for personal reasons, but like I'm not a summer hater. I just don't like when it is so hot outside that I can barely function. So I haven't updated you since Erin's 24-hour readathon. I was gonna vlog through it, but then I wasn't really reading a lot. This entire month I haven't really been reading a lot. I've been struggling with my reading this month, and I also think it comes back to my weird nostalgic thing that I'm going through right now. I just keep thinking about how I used to love laying in bed at night, or please, not even at night, just afternoon, night, morning, whenever. I used to love sitting in bed and like reading my books and annotating them. And I still do that for the most part, but it's less and less these days just because I've been so busy. And so yesterday I decided that I wanted to like do nothing all day except sit around on the couch and read. 300 pages in, so I'm almost done. And I had read a good portion of this during Erin's readathon, but I went back and I reread a good portion of this book, which is why I'm not completed with it. If you were watching those, you would know that I was pretty far when I was reading it during her readathon, but I went back and I reread portions of it because I wasn't like fully grasping it. I was a little confused by the characters. I know a lot of people say that once you get like 30% in, everything starts to make sense, and that's really true, but I think that I wasn't paying close enough attention when I was first reading it, so I decided to go back and reread. I would say the thing that's been helping me is that in the front there is a breakdown of each of the houses, and so I keep referencing it so that I know who all of the characters are, because that was like my main problem, was I was getting characters confused, and then different plot points would confuse me because I would think it was a different character. Anyway, I spent all day yesterday basically on the couch just reading this and annotating it, and I'm in love. Like, I really love this. I can see people not liking this. I've seen the critiques of people saying it's really confusing, they don't like it, it's over the top. I love all of that. I'm obsessed with Gideon and Harrow. I am so obsessed, like, wow. And I'm just even more excited for Harrow because I think it was Tammy who said that Harrow is even better than Gideon, and I've already really liked this because this went from Gideon trying to get off the 9th house to going on this adventure where they're exploring this castle, and then there's a murder mystery. Like, the only thing I ever hear about this book is that it's necromancers in space. You could literally forget that space exists in this book because that's not even a focal point. Like, they are literally in this castle and they're trying to find keys, and these keys all open doors to these tests. And like the different houses, they're trying to become the next lictor, which is, I don't even know how you would explain the lictor. Is there a glossary is what I want to know. I don't think there's a glossary in this one because this is the arc. I would say the lictor is like, it's a big time, you know? It's a big time job. I don't remember how they described the lictor, but it's a pretty important thing, and they're all like trying to complete these tasks and get all these keys so that they can become the next lictor. So Gideon gets wrapped up on going on this adventure with Harrow because Harrow is a necromancer, and all necromancers need swordsmen, or in here they call them cavaliers. And so Gideon gets wrapped up in being a cavalier, even though she's not technically trained to do that. She's not born to do that. She kind of ended up in the 9th house by chance that you only get like a quick glimpse into. I'm sure that's something that's going to be explored a little bit further, because where I'm at in the book, there has been mention of her birth and how she got to the 9th house, but I do think it'll be something explored probably further on in the series. If it's even important, I don't know, but she is technically an indentured servant to the 9th house, and Harrow is the heir to the 9th house. So she gets wrapped up in becoming the cavalier, even though she's not really. It's a ruse of sorts, and this bargain is so that Gideon can finally enlist in the military and get off of the 9th house and stop being an indentured servant. It's very queer, it's very funny, it's fast-paced, and there's a murder mystery. There's a murder mystery. I had no idea. When I tell you that this book has been the most unexpected read for me this year, and I think it'll be one of my favorite books of this year, I went and I pre-ordered the 3rd book because I wasn't sure if I would like it, so I didn't pre-order it yet. And as soon as I got halfway through this book and realized that I was pining over Harrow and Gideon, I knew I needed to pre-order the 3rd one, because I have to know where their stories go. Because like my pining is probably fruitless because they hate each other. It's just the way they talk to each other. It's just amazing. I don't know. I'm gonna try to finish it today before work, but I don't know if I have the capacity to do that. Lighting is terrible, but I just finished Gideon the 9th with like minutes to spare before I had to leave for work. And what did I just read? Also, there were so many amazing moments. I'm obsessed. This is definitely gonna be one of those series that I absolutely need to reread, because my comprehension was probably very little. I think I'm assuming I know more than I actually do about this book. Secondly, I just would love to reread it. I can't wait to read the 2nd book. And then the 3rd book's gonna come out on the 13th. Good morning. I'm making tea right now, so you might be able to hear the kettle in the background, but I wanted to update because I'm reading the Romantic Agenda and I'm only at the first part of it. The setup is happening. You're learning about our main character. You're learning that she's asexual. This guy that she's in love with, who's also her best friend, he's asexual. That's kind of how they made their connection. And the asexual representation is amazing in here. Like, I feel so seen. I feel very seen, but I'm not loving the setup of this book. And as a matter of fact, I'm not really loving our main character very much. I feel like I'm a quarter of the way in. I'm already at the point where they are on this little vacation, and she's like kind of talking a lot about how he was the only person that really understood her because he was also asexual, and it was always so easy. But then when you meet him, you're like, he is, I don't know about this one. So I'm really nervous because I have a feeling I know exactly where this book is going, and I just feel like I'm gonna be irritated the whole time, because I always hate when you have a friendship, right, that's verging on potentially you could be in a relationship together, you know, a little friends to lovers. But I know in my heart that that's not what this is gonna be. I feel like her best friend is just, I feel like he's leading her on, and that makes me really mad. It makes me really mad when a character is so deeply in love with somebody who really isn't as invested in them as they make it seem, and they're just there to fill in until they find somebody that they're really in love with. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like I'm gonna be irritated, but hopefully I like the end romance. Hello. So I finished the romantic agenda. I'm not gonna rate this because of a couple reasons. I've said this a million trillion times. I'm not really a romance reader. I don't seek out specifically just romance related books. I love romance in books like fantasy books or contemporary books, but I don't seek out purely romantic books. So you're probably asking yourself, why do I even have this on my shelf? Well, because of the asexual representation that everybody was talking about in here. And that's true. This has amazing asexual representation, especially because you have different people in here that identify as asexual that are experiencing asexuality very differently. It's really showing you that there's a spectrum of experiences and that not everybody who is asexual is just completely sex repulsed or they can't have romantic relationships at all. I definitely think that this turns that idea on its head, and there's really great moments where they explain that. I felt very seen in those moments. I think a lot of people will feel very seen in those moments because it's explained in a way that's really thoughtful but educational. And so I think if you've never had anybody in your life who identifies as asexual, or you have certain ideas about what asexuality means, then this will definitely kind of give you a better perspective on it. Also, the nonfiction book Ace by Angela Chen is probably the best book to turn to if you have any questions about asexuality because it covers literally everything. That being said, really loved that. Everything else was really difficult for me to get through. I didn't really like our main character, Joy. I didn't care about the endgame love interest because we were so obsessed with Malcolm for 80% of this book that it made it hard for me to be invested in the actual romance that this book is supposed to have, like the endgame romance. And that was really frustrating because I do think the guy that she's kind of obsessed over, who's her best friend, is not that great. Like I wasn't convinced of why she was so in love with this man. And on top of it all, I just didn't love the way that Joy or Malcolm treated Summer in this book. So the whole premise of this book is that you have Joy, who's our main character. She's asexual. She is best friends with this man named Malcolm. He is also asexual. They met in college. They kind of formed their relationship around Joy coming out as asexual and Malcolm being a really big advocate at the college for people to join this group to understand asexuality or to feel safe about their asexuality. So they build this bond in college. They've been best friends forever. Joy is in love with him. And to her, it seems like Malcolm is in love with her. He always chooses her. He's broken up with girlfriends because of her. So she's like in love with him. So he tells her at the beginning of the story he has this special trip planned for her. And she's like, oh my God, this is the moment when he finally admits that he's in love with me too. And we can be together and be really happy. Turns out he's seeing somebody else. He's seeing a woman named Summer. And this trip is actually a special trip mainly for Summer, but also for Joy and Summer to become friends. Summer, for some reason, brings her ex-boyfriend / now her best friend. And it's weird. So then Joy in her mind is like, no, I need to tell Malcolm where my feelings stand, because if I tell him where my feelings stand, then he's gonna choose me. So to me, I thought it was really interesting that she was thinking that way. I'm wondering if maybe her thought process was more of like, maybe he doesn't really know how I feel because I've never outwardly said how I feel. So if I say it in this moment and he knows, then like that, all bets are off. We're gonna be together. But I'm like, I don't think it's not obvious how you feel about him. I don't really want to rant about this because I don't think that that benefits this book, and I do think that a lot of people will find great things from this book, and the ace representation is just done so amazing. But I do think that the fact that this author primarily writes YA, it shows a lot in this book, because Joy is supposed to be 30 years old, but the way that she treats Summer in certain situations, it's very immature and it feels very much like a YA book. And I think that's where my enjoyment started to falter with this, because the way that Joy treated Summer, all because of a past experience that she's had with Malcolm's girlfriends, was really frustrating. I think this was supposed to be like a retelling, not a retelling, but an homage to My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts. There's references to it, and I felt very much the same about My Best Friend's Wedding when Julia's character, I can't even remember her name. Is her name Joy? No. Jules. Her name's Jules, right? Anyway. I felt very much the same when Jules was treating her best friend's fiance like shit. And I'm like, they're literally engaged, about to get married. And I know that sometimes in life, people tell you to choose your happiness over other people's happiness. And so that means that you sometimes are telling people things that you need to tell them at very inconvenient times in their lives. Can't relate to that, but I know that it happens. So I'm not saying that it's unrealistic or that people don't do it or they're doing it for malicious reasons. That's not really my point. I just think that it's really immature to go into a situation already hating somebody because this man chooses someone over you time and time again and you think it's the woman's fault. Anyway, maybe I'm reading into it wrong. I don't know. I'm not gonna rate this. I do think that there are a lot of good things in this book that I really enjoyed. I don't know, it just didn't work for me. That's not totally unexpected because I don't reach for romance regularly. I really only picked this up because of the asexual representation. And I do think that if you want to read a book with that type of representation, I do recommend this. It all depends on what kind of tropes you like, I guess, in romance. Because I've had a lot of friends who really love this. Obviously, Brie really loves it. I know Darian really loves it. Christine really liked it. I haven't seen many bad reviews about it, so I'm probably the problem. And also, I think that if you've read this author's YA works before, you'll probably really enjoy this. I am excited to see what else they do in the adult contemporary romance world, because I'm not saying I would never pick up another book by this author, because there were a lot of moments in here that I really did enjoy a lot. So it's not a complete like, I hated this book. It was just like, the whole purpose of this book was the romance, and I wasn't invested in it at all. But I did end up starting Acknowledgment yesterday, and I'm really loving it. I love Nadia Okorafor so much, and I've always heard really good things about this series in general, so I'm excited that I'm finally starting it. And yeah, I'm loving it. I'm only like maybe 5% into the book, so I don't have a lot of thoughts right now, but yeah, I started it. Good morning. It is September 1st, so obviously I've failed Read It Down, but first off, just gotta appreciate that. It's pumpkin spice season, which, you know, I don't necessarily care about pumpkin spice. I've never been like, oh, it's fall, which equates to pumpkin spice. And I know that's been a thing for everybody else. I don't drink coffee, really, so like pumpkin spice has never meant anything to me except maybe to make pumpkin pie or maybe pumpkin bread. But like usually pumpkin spice doesn't mean anything to me. It just equates that everybody is finally on the same page as me that it's fall. You know, the closest I've ever gotten to really enjoying like pumpkin spice was I used to work at Pete's. They're very popular in the Bay Area. I don't know how popular they are outside of the Bay Area. So if you don't know what that is, it's just like, it's basically like a Starbucks, but they pride themselves on things being handcrafted. Like nothing is automatic really. At least when I worked there, I don't know what it's like now. But anyway, Pete's had pumpkin. It wasn't pumpkin spice though. It was pumpkin pie. And putting that in a chai, game changer. Anyway, I'm blabbering on. It's pumpkin spice season. It has finally started. And I was thinking about going to Starbucks because there's a Starbucks down the street and maybe trying a pumpkin spice something or other, but I'm afraid to try their chais because their chais, I can't drink them. They're so sweet. But I just, you know, I want to get in the mood. It's making me want to go walk down there and get one, but it's so hot today that me walking isn't gonna happen. But then my AC broke in my car, which I need to fix this weekend. So also me driving really isn't that much better, so I might as well walk. Anyway, point being, I just want to get a pumpkin spice something or other and like be productive today because I am halfway through Acknowledgment and I really want to finish this today. I mean, I'm already going to be on a book buying ban regardless because it is September 1st, but I just want to finish it today because I'm really enjoying it actually. So I always hear it compared to Harry Potter. My opinion on that matter is just read Acknowledgment. Forget about Harry Potter. No one cares about that. Anyway, I'm having a lot of fun. I really like our main character a lot. She's really funny, but her funniness, her humor comes from the fact that she feels like she doesn't fit in anywhere because she is albino, but also She was born in Nigeria, but then raised primarily in America and then moved back to Nigeria. So she has an American accent, and like some of the cultural things are different for her. So she doesn't feel like she fits in. And on top of that, there's lots of mentions to kids making fun of her albinism. So her humor really comes from protecting herself. And if I don't relate to that, I think there is a lot to relate to using humor as a shield for yourself and like being able to make fun of yourself before other people can make fun of you. There's something to that, you know? And I connect so deeply with this character because I feel that. I feel that sense of like not belonging in so many different places that you're like living your life, but you feel as if you're an outsider watching everybody live their life and you're just like, existing. The trash man is here, so I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna try to finish this today and then we'll close out this vlog. Okay, so it's much later. I did not get that pumpkin spice drink because I just couldn't bring myself to go outside. It's so hot. It's like 110 degrees right now or something stupid, and so I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe tomorrow. But I did finish Akata Witch, and this is absolutely a 5 stars for me. I really, really love this. It brought me a lot of nostalgia, and I really like how the magic system existed, but I also just really connected to a lot of the characters in here, and I loved the dynamics between family and our characters, our younger characters that we're being introduced to. I loved the friendship group. There's just so much to love about this. So I didn't really go into the synopsis in my last update about this, but basically following our main character Sunny, and I was actually mistaken. She was born in America and then her parents moved back to Nigeria. So she's still very much struggling with fitting in, especially with an American accent. And like I also said, she is albino, so that is something that she gets made fun of a lot. But she ends up making 2 new friends, and these 2 new friends are convinced that she has a magical ability, and when they test her, she does have a magical ability. So the rest of this book is really spent through testing Sunny's magical abilities, and she's learning about this magical world that exists that she didn't know existed and now is being kind of shown to her slowly. But the biggest test of her magical ability is really through this threat that is happening within her community, and so she really has to learn and understand her abilities due to this threat. I mean, the one thing about this book is that it's very much a foundational book, so there is lots more to learn about this world and about this magic system that you're not going to get in this first book, especially because it's fairly short. So there are lots of questions that you have by the end of the book, but I didn't mind that. I really like magic systems where you're kind of vibing, you know, like you're learning about it through different obstacles or through magical schools or schooling, and it's not really this hard magic system that you're trying to learn along with the world building. But I will say that I think the world building was really rich in here, and you got a lot of that world building, and it was really exciting to learn about this magical underground, this magical world that Sunny didn't know existed, and she's being introduced to it. And it feels really exciting when you're reading it because Sunny is so excited about these things too. I think the other really interesting thing that this book does is it really talks about ableism, because this magic system is really based off of differences. So basically people with magical abilities are oftentimes in society deemed as different, and a lot of that has to do with maybe a disability that they have. And so obviously our main character Sunny is albino, and she doesn't fit in with a lot of the kids because, you know, she can only spend so much time in the sun, and she wants to play soccer and fit in with them in those ways, but it's really difficult for her to do those things and partake in those activities. So I thought it was really interesting and like such a cool concept and conversation where all of the people who had magical abilities, who were a part of this magical world, had differing abilities. And sorry, I thought I heard something downstairs. Anyway, what I was saying was just that I really liked the way that this magic system was set up and like who had access to their magic. I'm just so excited that the other 2 books are out in the series. I believe that it's just going to be a trilogy, and from what I know, it goes from being middle grade to by the end being a YA. So I'm absolutely gonna run out and go buy the next 2 books in the series because I feel like this is gonna be a new like comfort series for me. I'm really happy that I loved Akata Witch so much just because the romantic agenda, you know? So technically this actually ties Rachel and Bree because I gave one book 5 stars and then basically the other book I didn't rate at all. So they're technically tied, and I'm not sure what to do about that, other than maybe if it's a DNF, it would technically be a lower rating because I mean, I wasn't even able to finish Priory, so maybe Bree would go above Rachel. I guess we'll find out together when I'm editing this what the new ranking looks like. I had so much fun with this episode, especially with Casey visiting, and thank you again so much, Bree, for participating in Read It Down. I really loved that you picked these two books because I don't know when I would have gotten to them. Also, let me know down below if you've read either of these and what you thought of them, and if you have nothing to say, feel free to leave a witch emoji down below, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!